Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Popo here, bringing guys a new video. And today we're going to talk about the viability of all of the Paradox Mons going into Regulation F. Let's go. Welcome, everybody. And today we're going to be talking about the viability of all the Paradox Mons as we go into Regulation F. And of course, if you don't have Walking Wake or Iron Leaves yet, make sure you guys go do those raids because they are available at the moment. You can only catch one on each of your games, so make sure that you do and do not trade them away. Hopefully they'll add a way to get them in the future, including all of the other ones, maybe some more raids and stuff like that. It's kind of annoying that you can only get one on each game, but it is what it is. But yeah, so make sure you guys get those. Regulation F does start on January 4th, as we just got that update the other day. And so we only got a little while left until Regulation F is going to begin. Of course, there's a bunch of tours and everything like that going on. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you check Twitter, Nino Brothers, and stuff like that is a great source. So let's get right into this. So first, we got Iron Thorns here. Iron Thorns has never really been good. I think he's probably the worst Paradox. His typing is not very great. The 4x weakness to ground is pretty rough. And he's just, his stats wise, he's the only Paradox that's worse than the form that he is taking, I believe, as he's literally just worse than Tyranitar. All right, next we have Iron Treads. Iron Treads has always been in a weird spot where it just doesn't do enough damage. And I think that's going to continue as he's just not that great. We're going to order these two, and then we'll do this. But he's just not that great. He doesn't have really good damage output. His typing is pretty interesting with the steel and ground, but he's just never really been decent. He's pretty fast. That's it. All right, next we have Iron Bundle. So Iron Bundle has been used since it's been allowed and back in Regulation B. I believe that's when they allow Paradox, or Regulation 2, or whatever it was called back then. I think it was something like that. But it might have been Series 2 back then. But anyway, so I think Iron Bundle continues to be really good with booster energy. Of course, it's super, super fast, pretty much faster than anything in the meta. And on top of that, it gets stuff like Icy Wind, and it gets Freeze Dry, which hit a lot of the new Paradox Mons for super effective. So he's in a really good position, and I think that speed control is going to be super, super important going into the new regulation. Speed control is always important, but I feel like there's going to be a lot more trick room. I feel like there's going to be a lot more tailwind that we're seeing. Less of these balanced, bulkier teams. I think we're going to see a lot of extremes, at least early on in the format. Iron Hands. Okay, this would have been Iron Hands pre-Regulation F. But I'm going to be honest. I just think he's A now. I think Iron Hands is going to drop a lot because we have a better Fake Out user now, and our Fake Out user comes with Intimidate, and that's going to be Incineroar. So Incineroar is doing a lot of the work that Iron Hands and Hisui and Arcanine were both doing, as well as having the ability to go knockoff. So I think that Iron Hands loses a lot of traction, though it is good against the Incineroar. You also have to throw your Assault Vest on it. You have to, it's a Fake Out user, you're throwing your Assault Vest on it. It doesn't have an ability. It is pretty bulky, but I just think it loses out to one Pokemon altogether, and it's kind of crazy. I think we'll see teams that have both of them that can pivot a lot, with Volt Switches, and you're just having double Fake Out Volt Switches, parting shots. You're just having a rotation where you have like a bulky Mon, maybe that's setting up or something like that, and you have this rotation that's just doing a lot of work. I think that is possible to see, and we might see something like that, but I think early on at least, he's going to drop quite a bit. He's still good against Flutter Mane. You Terrasilize, and then you can go for, the Heavy Slam and stuff like that. He's always going to be good for that, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to be particularly good. Next, we have Iron Jugulus. Iron Jugulus has seen some play in the past. Nothing spectacular. I think Wolf Glick and Marcus Strutter did pretty good with them, but yeah, it's like a C tier. It can do some things. It's a fast Snarl. It's a pretty good Tailwind setter. Its typing is okay, I guess. Um, so yeah, it's another one. I think it's weaker than Hydreigon, but it's not as bad as an Iron Thorns though. All right, so as we go further down, we got the Iron Moth, of course, and Iron Moth has seen some play in the past, and with some of the new Pokemon coming out, I think Iron Moth could see some play again. Of course, it has like the acid spray and stuff where it can just lower the special defense, and it allows some of the other Pokemon maybe to do a lot more damage. I think we can see some Choice Scarf sets on it, and we can go for some Booster Energy sets on it. It could just do a lot, and its typing is pretty decent. You know, being Fire and Poison, it just eats any Fairy attacks. So I think we could see some play from this. Is it going to be good? I don't really think so, but early on, I think we'll see it. Iron Valiant, this thing is just terrible too. It does get some good moves, and it does have some usage. It gets Wide Guard, it gets like Close Combat, it gets Play Rough, it gets special attacks like Moonblast and stuff, and Shadow Sneak, I believe. So it has some usage, but I just don't think it's good enough. Its stats are just too varied in both of its attacks rather than having any defense abilities. So it's just always in a weird spot, and I just don't think it's that good. Next, we have Great Tusk. And Great Tusk at one point was probably here, maybe here, maybe here. But I think Great Tusk is now a low C tier. It can still do stuff, and it's probably going to be pretty good against Incineroar. But the problem is all the things that surround the Incineroar. It's also good against another one of the Paradox Mons that's going to be really good, but I just don't see it rising that much, especially with Fluttermane just being so prevalent in the meta, and it's going to continue to be so prevalent because it's just a good mon that can't be faked out, can't be intimidated. It still hits, you know, with Moonblast, Terra Fairy, it still hits Incineroar for 1,000,000 damage. So I see Fluttermane continuing to be good, and as long as Fluttermane is on the top, I think it's going to be hard. Screamtail. Now, Screamtail is very divisive. Some people hate Screamtail, and some people love Screamtail. I'm going to be honest. I think Screamtail is insane. It can just lock opponents out of moves. It can just do, you know, it can improve your other Pokemon by going for Howl. It can set up screens. It can just do so many different things. And that's even not even talking about Perish Song. So, like, it's such a good Pokemon. I think A tier is appropriate for it, but you have to use it the right way. And it's one of those Pokemon that's really hard to use the right way. So yeah. Next we have Brute Bonnet. And Brute Bonnet's an interesting one because it does get Spore. It has really good attack stats, and it gets really good moves. But it's just never really seen that much usage, and I think it's going to continue. This is a C tier. If it has Spore, it can't be really much lower. It could possibly even be a B tier with Sucker Punch and stuff like that, but I just think it loses to Incineroar, so it's really hard. But Spore is always going to be good. It's always just going to be good. Next we have Fluttermane. I mean, Fluttermane's insane. It gets every move you want it to get. It gets Taunt, which people don't even use on it, but it gets it. It gets Taunt. It gets Trick Room, so if you want to use it as a support, it gets Imprison, so you can imprison those Trick Rooms if you really want to. Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, gets Mystical Fire, which I think is going to be really good because there's going to be a lot of Sun teams around. It gets boosted in the Sun. It can use, you know, Choice Specs. It can use Booster Energy. It can use Focus Sash. It just can do so many things, and that's very important for a Pokemon to be significantly good. And Fluttermane just ticks all the boxes, and we've seen it time and time again. That is just a really, really insane Pokemon. So Fluttermane, not going anywhere. Next we get the Flutterwing. What is it called? Flutterwing? No, it's called Slitherwing. Sorry, this thing is terrible. I've tried to use it in the past. It does a lot of damage if you have the Sun Up, but otherwise it's not very good. And if you do have the Sun Up, then it's just weak to fire, which is not the greatest. It does get stuff like Will-O-Wisp for a non-fire type, which is pretty cool, but one Bleak Wind Storm and this thing is done. It's done. Next we have Sandy Shocks, and Sandy Shocks has seen some play with gravity and hypnosis. I still think it could be used. Its typing's really good offensively, where it's electric and ground. It just can do kind of a lot of things, but it just seems like it's always just missing something, and I think it's going to continue to miss that something. Next, we have Roaring Moon. I think Roaring Moon's going to lose a lot of its luster just because Incineroar's so good. It doesn't really have a way to deal with Incineroar. Fake Out's pretty strong against it as well. It does still have Tailwind, and it can go for knockoffs, but I just think with the nerf with Wheezing, it's just really lost a lot of its usability, and I think it just gets outclassed now. Being a dark type, Incineroar, it's tough. All right, now we're getting into the new ones, okay? And I'm gonna order these by the oldest ones first, right? So we have Iron Leaves first. So Iron Leaves has a terrible, terrible typing, but it has really decent stats. But I think it's going to be a C tier just because of that typing. It just dies to U-turns, and U-turns pretty common, especially if people continue to use like Choice Scarf, Urshifu Waters, or even Urshifu Darks. It just can't really do much against them. Psychic type is not the greatest type in the world, and Grass is good, but it just gives it so many weaknesses, and neither of the types give resistances to anything. So he just gains weaknesses essentially, and it doesn't really help him out. He is immune to Spore, but that's about it. Next, we have Walking Wake. And so far, from what I've seen from these tournaments that have been going on, Nino Brothers and Wide League and stuff, it hasn't really put in the results I thought it was going to. But I still think it's going to be an A tier, just because I think Sun's going to be really good. It's just somebody's just going to have to figure out how to use Sun. When Groudon comes out, I think this Pokemon's going to be absolutely insane, as it just walls Kyogre, and it just gives Groudon a lot more reach, as it can just use its water attacks no matter if Kyogre's out or not. So I think this is just a super, super strong Pokemon that maybe is just not getting the results at the moment. Next, we have Iron Crown. And I actually think Iron Crown's probably the top of B tier. This thing is insane, as it's super bulky, gets expanding force, and it gets this tracking cutter that just kills Fluttermanes and Chien-Paos in one hit. So if you could just follow me away, you know, with, and it pairs very well, I should add, with something like Indeedee. You're setting up the Psychic Terrain, and now it can't be faked out. Yes, they're both weak to Dark, but he's weak to stuff like Shadow Ball, which, you know, Indeedee can just follow me away, and it can just kill Fluttermane. So it is really strong. It can use Booster Energy, so therefore its special attack's actually stronger than something like the Armarouge, which would be in competition with it. Though it is really fast, and it's faster than Urshifu, it does take away the fact that you can use something like Trick Room, where you got more range with Trick Room with Armarouge. So there's a case to be made for both, but I just think Iron Crown is much, much better. And yeah, we'll see. I actually have a video. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out, where I use Iron Crown. I'm gonna talk about this one last, actually. Next we have, what's his name? Iron Boulder. Yeah, Iron Boulder. Now he has an attack, 100 base rock attack that hits through Protect, and he's really fast, 124. He's probably top of C tier. He gets a lot of good attacks, but he doesn't get Rock Slide. For some reason, he does not get Rock Slide. He has no way to really, like, he doesn't outspeed Fluttermane and pretty much dies to it. Like, the amount of damage he can output is pretty good, but you kind of have to use Clear Amulet or Sword Dance on him to keep it up. So that makes it tough too. He's good against Incineroar because of that move. I just don't really see him being that great, to be honest. I just think that he just loses to too many things. Psychic Rock isn't really the greatest type in the world. He just loses his weakness to fighting from the rock type. Other than that, he just gains weaknesses. So I don't know. It's one of those weird situation Pokemon, I think, and I think there will be a team that's good with it, but I just don't think overall. All right, now we have Gouging Fire, and people are talking so much about this Blazing Bulwark, which is an amazing move. But we got to remember, it doesn't protect against any status moves. It's kind of like King Shield. You can be taunted through it, as well as spored through it. Though I do think he's going to be a B tier. He's a great support Pokemon where he gets Dragon Cheer, which could be really good to use on your Dragon Pokemon if you want to go for those crits. As well as getting things like Breaking Swipe, which will just lower the attack of your opponent. So he does have a pretty good support lineup. I think he gets Howl as well, so he can kind of do a lot. And then on top of that, he does give a chance to burn your opponent, and he has really good stats just all around. He's pretty bulky, and his typing is really good with Dragon and Fire. So I think he's good. I just don't think he's A tier. I don't know. I just, every time I face him, I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just kill everything else kind of thing. And yeah, he can do damage because he does have a pretty high attack. I think it's 115, but he's usually not doing that much, you know? So, and his fire type does get boosted by photosynthesis, which is really good. So he gets a double boost off of that. And now we have Raging Bolt. This thing is insane. This thing is absolutely insane. It's super bulky, has a huge HP stat, and then it has 137 special attack stat with a priority stab move that is the same as Sucker Punch, so it's 70 base, and if they are attacking, you get to attack first, which absolutely annihilates Urshifu. And if it gets Calm Mind, so you can Calm Mind up, make it bulkier. It just does so much, and then paired with something like a Moongus, or, you know, you have some redirection in any way, Ogerpon and stuff like that, this Mon is absolutely insane because you could just take away those Stomping Tantrums from hitting it, and just be able to just kill everything. It gets Draco Meteor. I prefer Dragon Pulse, and I think Dragon Pulse is actually really good, and people aren't really using it, but if you're Calm Minding up, I feel like Dragon Pulse is just really good. So this Mon is insane, and if you pair it with Gouging Fire or any other Pokemon that uses Dragon Cheer, and you put a Scope Lens on this, you can use Draco Meteor and just crit every single time and do tons and tons of damage, and it's kind of crazy. So yeah, I think he's weaker than Flutter Mane, but I think this Pokemon is actually insane. But that is all for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and if you did, make sure you guys thumbs it up, subscribe if you're not, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys later.